Welcome to Lotus Light Teachings, where we explore the timeless wisdom of Buddhism to inspire and empower your journey. Today, we'll dive deep into finding inner strength, breaking free from external influences, and living authentically. Let's take this transformative journey together, one step closer to peace, clarity, and the life you truly deserve. Have you ever stood at the edge of a serene lake in the early morning? The water lies still, reflecting the sky above with perfect clarity. But then, a pebble drops into the lake, and ripples spread across its surface, distorting the once pristine reflection. Isn't that what life feels like sometimes? A single word, an unexpected comment, or someone's passing judgment feels like that pebble, disrupting our peace. What if I told you that beneath those ripples, the lake remains calm and unchanged at its depths? And what if I told you that the same can be true for you, that no matter what storms rage around you, your inner core can remain steady and unshaken? This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's the essence of what we'll explore today. Together, we'll delve into how the timeless teachings of Buddhism can help you reclaim your power, not by controlling the world around you, but by mastering the world within. But first, let's pause. Have you noticed how often we let others influence how we feel? A colleague's criticism, a partner's mood, even a stranger's glance can shift our sense of self. Why do we give so much power to others, often without realizing it? I'm not here to tell you to detach completely or retreat from the world. Life isn't about running away from challenges or relationships. Instead, it's about learning how to hold your glass of water with steadiness, so when someone bumps into you, your happiness doesn't spill everywhere. Let's embark on this journey together. Think of me not as a teacher, but as a fellow traveler, someone walking this path alongside you, sharing insights and stories, so we can discover what it means to live freely and joyfully, discovering inner power, the calm within the storm. Have you ever gazed at a lake on a still, windless morning? The surface mirrors the sky so perfectly that it feels as though you could step into another world. But then, a stone falls, or perhaps just the faintest breeze, and ripples break the illusion. Does this mean the lake has lost its tranquility? Of course not. Beneath those ripples, the depths remain undisturbed, untouched by the surface commotion. Isn't this the perfect metaphor for life? So often, we allow the ripples, the criticisms, the judgments, the fleeting emotions to define us. But what if we could anchor ourselves in those deeper, still waters? What if we could hold onto an unshakable sense of inner calm, no matter how many stones life throws our way? Inner power isn't about controlling everything around us. It's about mastering what happens within us. Yet, how many of us truly live this way? Think about it. How often do we let a passing comment ruin our day or a single failure convince us we're not good enough? Why do we hand over our happiness to people and situations that, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter? The teachings of Buddhism offer us a profound answer. They remind us that true power isn't found in the approval of others or in the fleeting highs of success. It's found in our ability to center ourselves, to recognize that peace and strength have always been within us, waiting to be tapped into. But how do we find this calm amidst the chaos? Imagine a Buddhist monk sitting quietly in meditation, even as a storm rages outside. When asked how he can remain so calm, he smiles and says, "The storm is only outside. Inside, my mind is like a lake. The winds may ripple the surface, but the depths remain still." What a powerful image. But how do we translate this into our daily lives, where the storms might be an unkind boss, a family disagreement, or the relentless comparisons of social media? Let's pause here for a moment and ask ourselves, why do we seek validation from others in the first place? Is it because we don't trust our own worth? Social media, for example, is like a hall of mirrors, amplifying our insecurities. We post a picture or an update and then we wait, watching the likes, the comments, the shares. When the numbers are high, we feel worthy. When they're not, doubt creeps in. But what if you could step away from this cycle? What if your sense of self didn't depend on numbers or opinions but came from a place so deep within you that no one could touch it? This is what Buddhism teaches us. True validation comes from within. Buddha's words echo through centuries. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. These words might feel daunting at first. After all, wouldn't it be easier if someone else could just hand us happiness? But there's also immense freedom in this truth. If no one else can give us peace, then no one else can take it away. Picture this: you're holding a glass of water. If someone bumps into you and your grip is loose, the water spills. But if you hold it firmly, no matter how many times someone nudges you, the water stays put. The glass is your inner peace, and the water represents your happiness. Isn't it time to hold your glass tightly? But let's not pretend this is easy. Mastering your inner world is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when the storms feel overwhelming. Days when the ripples seem to reach all the way to the depths. And that's okay. The first step is awareness, recognizing when you're handing over your power to someone or something outside of yourself. Think about a time when someone's words stung you. Did you replay the moment over and over in your mind, like a scratched record? Did it feel like they held the key to your happiness? What if, instead, you paused and asked yourself, why am I giving this so much weight? Is this truly about me, or does it say more about them? By asking these questions, you begin to reclaim your power. You start to see that other people's opinions are just ripples on the surface, not reflections of your true self. Let's bring this closer to home with an example. Imagine a young woman named Anya. Anya loves to paint, but her parents want her to pursue a career in medicine. Every time she picks up a brush, their disapproval looms over her, and she finds herself questioning her passion. One day, a mentor asks her, "When you paint, does it bring you joy?" She nods, tears in her eyes. "Then why are you letting their fears overshadow your happiness?" Anya's journey isn't about defying her parents or proving them wrong. It's about understanding that her joy, her peace, comes from embracing what truly fulfills her, not what others expect of her. And isn't this a lesson we all need to learn? What would your life look like if you stopped chasing approval? If you stopped measuring your worth by external standards? If you allowed yourself to simply be, knowing that who you are as you are is enough? The road to inner power is paved with mindfulness. It's about being present with your thoughts and emotions, not judging them, but simply observing them. It's about recognizing that you have a choice in every moment, to react or to respond, to let the ripples define you or to anchor yourself in the stillness below. Take a moment now, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Let the noise of the world fade away, even for just a few seconds. This is where your power lies, in the quiet spaces, in the stillness that no one else can touch. As you open your eyes and return to the world, carry this truth with you. The calm you seek isn't somewhere out there. It's within you, waiting for you to notice it. So why not begin now? Why not take the first step to discovering the unshakable power that has always been yours? Your journey has already begun. The art of letting go. Have you ever held on to something so tightly that it began to hurt? Maybe it was a relationship, a job, or even a dream that you had outgrown but couldn't bear to release. Imagine gripping a rope tied to a heavy weight sinking into the depths of the ocean. The tighter you cling to it, the more it pulls you under, draining your strength and stealing your breath. Yet, the moment you let go, you're free to rise to the surface and take a deep, life-giving breath. Why do we hold on, even when it causes us pain? Is it fear of losing control? Or is it the hope that, with just a little more effort, we can salvage the situation and make it work? These questions are not new. They've been at the heart of human struggles for centuries. Buddhism teaches us that clinging, whether to people, outcomes, or material possessions, is the root of much of our suffering. Think about this. How often do we pin our happiness on something outside of ourselves? If only I get that promotion, I'll finally feel successful. If this relationship works out, I'll be happy. If I can just hold onto this moment a little longer, I won't have to face what's next. But life, like water, flows continuously. The more we try to grip it, the more it slips through our fingers. There's a profound beauty in letting go, not as an act of defeat, but as a declaration of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the flow of life, and trust that what's meant to stay will stay, and what's meant to go will go. Imagine standing by a river. You see a leaf floating gently on the surface. You could chase it, try to grab it, and hold it tightly, but what happens then? The leaf crumbles in your hand, its delicate edges torn by your grip. But if you simply watch, letting it drift naturally with the current, you'll notice something magical. The leaf's journey continues, unbroken, free. Isn't that what life asks of us? To allow things to move as they will without forcing or clinging. Let me share a story. There was a man who found himself trapped in a tumultuous storm while holding onto a tree branch for dear life. The winds howled, and the rain lashed against him. He clung tighter and tighter, his muscles screaming in pain. Yet the harder he held on, the more he suffered. Finally, exhausted, he let go, and to his amazement, he landed on solid ground just a few feet below. His fear had blinded him to the fact that safety was already within reach, if only he'd trusted enough to release his grip. How often do we, too, cling out of fear? Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of emptiness. But here's the paradox. Letting go doesn't leave you empty. It creates space. Space for growth, space for peace, space for new possibilities. This isn't to say that letting go is easy. It requires courage. It's a journey of acknowledging what no longer serves you and having the strength to release it. Start by asking yourself, what am I holding on to right now that's weighing me down? Is it an old grudge, a fear of failure, or perhaps an expectation that life should unfold a certain way? When we cling, we're often trying to resist impermanence, the simple truth that everything in life is temporary. The seasons change, friendships evolve, even our own thoughts and emotions are fleeting. Buddhism reminds us that impermanence isn't something to fear. It's what makes life beautiful. Without endings, there would be no new beginnings. Think of a tree in autumn, shedding its leaves. The tree doesn't resist. It lets the leaves fall, knowing that this is part of its cycle. Come spring, it will bloom again. Can we, too, learn to embrace this rhythm of letting go and welcoming renewal? Here's an exercise you can try. Take a moment to sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. Picture something you've been holding on to, a thought, a memory, a desire. Visualize it as a balloon in your hand. With each exhale, loosen your grip. Watch the balloon rise higher and higher until it disappears into the sky. Feel the lightness in your chest as you release it. Doesn't it feel liberating to let go, even in your imagination? Now, imagine carrying this practice into your daily life. The next time you feel the weight of clinging, whether it's to an argument, a missed opportunity, or a fear of the future, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is holding on to this serving me, or is it time to let go? One of the most powerful lessons in letting go is realizing that it doesn't mean you don't care. You can care deeply and still release what isn't yours to control. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving yourself the freedom to live fully in the present moment. Picture a bird perched on a branch. The bird doesn't fear the branch breaking because it trusts its wings. In the same way, letting go asks us to trust our own ability to navigate whatever comes next. So, what would happen if you released the things that no longer serve you? What might you discover about yourself, your strength, and your capacity for joy? The art of letting go isn't about loss. It's about liberation. And isn't that what we're all seeking? To live lightly, freely, unburdened by the weight of what we no longer need. The path to letting go begins with a single step. The decision to trust yourself and the journey. Will you take that step? Practical steps to reclaim your power. Have you ever felt like life has slipped out of your hands? Like you're running on a treadmill going nowhere? Perhaps you've experienced days where exhaustion, frustration, or self-doubt consume you, leaving you questioning your purpose. If so, take a moment to pause and consider this. What would it feel like to take back control? Not of everything around you, but of yourself. To rediscover the immense power within you that's been there all along. Reclaiming your power isn't about domination or control over others. It's about mastering your inner world. And while that might sound abstract, it starts with practical, tangible steps that anyone can take. Let's dive deeper into how we can rebuild our sense of empowerment through self-awareness, boundaries, and gratitude. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You see your reflection, but do you truly see yourself? Self-awareness is like cleaning that mirror. It removes the fog of distractions, allowing you to look inward with clarity. But how often do we truly sit with ourselves and observe our thoughts, free from judgment? Most of us are caught in a whirlwind of reactions. A snide comment from someone at work makes us angry. A missed opportunity leaves us feeling inadequate. Why do we allow these fleeting moments to shape our self-worth? Self-awareness is the first and most essential step in reclaiming your power. It's the ability to pause and say, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Is this emotion serving me, or is it draining me? The beauty of self-awareness lies in its simplicity. You don't need fancy tools or complex methods, just a willingness to listen to your inner dialogue. Take, for example, Maria, a dedicated mother and entrepreneur. She often found herself overwhelmed, snapping at her children after a long day. Through journaling, Maria began to track her emotions. She realized that her irritation wasn't caused by her kids, but by her inability to express her exhaustion. By naming her feelings, stress, fatigue, frustration, she could address them without projecting them onto others. This simple act of observing, without judgment, allowed Maria to reclaim her emotional balance. Now, let's move to the next piece of the puzzle: boundaries. Why is it so difficult to say no? We've all been there. Agreeing to extra tasks at work, accepting invitations we'd rather decline, or staying in conversations that drain us. But here's the truth. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, you're saying no to yourself. Boundaries aren't about building walls to keep people out. They're about creating space to protect what matters most to you. Consider this: if your time and energy were a garden, how would you care for it? Would you let anyone trample through it, pulling up flowers or tossing trash? Of course not. Yet, so often, we allow others to encroach on our mental and emotional space without setting limits. Take the story of Alex, a busy CEO who constantly felt burnt out. He realized that his inability to set boundaries was the root of his exhaustion. Clients would call him at all hours, colleagues would delegate their work to him, and he'd take it all on without question. One day, after a particularly sleepless night, Alex decided to make a change. He began by setting small boundaries. No work calls after 7 p.m. and delegating tasks back to his team instead of absorbing them all himself. The result? Not only did Alex feel more energized, but his team began to respect his time and take ownership of their responsibilities. But here's the thing about boundaries: they require courage. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, even scary. You might fear disappointing others or being perceived as selfish. But ask yourself this: if you don't take care of your own needs, who will? Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect. Now, let's talk about shifting our focus from scarcity to abundance through the practice of gratitude. How often do we dwell on what's missing in our lives? If only I had more time, more money, more recognition. But what if we flipped that narrative and asked, what do I already have that brings me joy? Gratitude is a simple yet transformative tool. When you consciously acknowledge what's good in your life, you begin to rewire your brain to notice positivity instead of lack. It's like tuning a radio station. When you focus on gratitude, the noise of negativity fades, and a clearer, brighter signal emerges. Let me share a story. Priya, a teacher, was struggling with feelings of inadequacy. She felt she wasn't making a difference in her students' lives and often compared herself to her more successful friends. One day, a mentor suggested she start a gratitude journal. Every night, Priya wrote down 3 things she was grateful for: a student's smile, a supportive colleague, the simple joy of her morning tea. Over time, Priya noticed a shift. She began to see her impact, not in grand achievements but in the small moments of connection she often overlooked. Gratitude isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending life is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty, there are rays of light worth celebrating. So, here's a simple exercise. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental: a kind word, a delicious meal, a moment of laughter. Over time, you'll notice that these small acknowledgments accumulate, creating a profound sense of abundance. Reclaiming your power isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous practice. Start small. Begin with self-awareness. Pause and observe your emotions without judgment. Then, take a step toward setting boundaries. Protect your time and energy like the precious resources they are. Finally, cultivate gratitude. Train your mind to focus on the good, even when life feels heavy. Each of these steps is like a brick in the foundation of your empowerment. They don't just help you feel more in control. They remind you that you already have everything you need within you. The power to shape your life, to protect your peace, and to find joy in the present moment. It's all there, waiting for you to claim it. So what will you do today to begin? Will you pause and reflect on your emotions? Will you say no to something that doesn't serve you? Will you take a moment to write down a single thing you're grateful for? The path to reclaiming your power is yours to walk. And step by step, you'll discover the incredible strength that's been inside you all along. Facing challenges with resilience. Have you ever wondered how a lotus flower, growing in the muddiest waters, manages to bloom so flawlessly? It doesn't let its murky environment define its beauty or its purpose. Instead, it transforms adversity into strength, rising above its surroundings to become a symbol of purity and resilience. Doesn't this mirror our own potential to face life's challenges with courage and grace? Life is never without its muddy waters. Times when everything feels heavy, unclear, and overwhelming. But here's the truth. Challenges are not here to break you. They're here to shape you. Have you ever noticed that the moments when you felt most tested often became the moments that defined you? That's the essence of resilience. Not avoiding difficulties, but embracing them as stepping stones toward growth. Let's think about it. Why do challenges feel so daunting? Is it the fear of failure, the uncertainty of what lies ahead, or the pain of stepping out of your comfort zone? Imagine losing a job you've worked at for years. The panic sets in. Questions swirl in your mind. What will I do next? Was I ever good enough? What does this mean for my future? It's natural to feel lost. But what if this loss is the beginning of a new chapter? A better chapter? Take the story of Ravi, a man whose life turned upside down when his high-paying corporate job was eliminated during a restructuring. Ravi had spent years defining his worth through his career. When it was taken from him, he felt like a ship without a rudder. For weeks, he spiraled into doubt and frustration. But then, something shifted. Ravi decided to pause, to breathe, and to reflect. Through meditation, he discovered a stillness within himself that he hadn't known existed. It was as if, for the first time, he could hear his inner voice whispering, "You are more than your job title." Slowly, he began to simplify his life. He let go of the material possessions he once thought defined his success and embraced minimalism. With fewer distractions, Ravi uncovered what truly mattered to him. Spending time with loved ones, exploring creativity, and living authentically. What seemed like a devastating challenge transformed into a profound opportunity for self-discovery. But how do we develop this kind of resilience? Let's start with a question. What do you do when life throws you a curveball? Do you freeze, panic, or fight back with all your might? Or do you pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what can this teach me? Resilience begins with perspective. Instead of viewing challenges as roadblocks, see them as detours guiding you towards something greater. Imagine driving along a winding mountain road. The sharp turns and steep climbs might feel intimidating, but every twist brings you closer to a breathtaking view at the summit. Isn't life the same? Consider the lotus flower again. It doesn't resist the mud. It uses it. The nutrients in the mud nourish its growth, allowing it to bloom. In the same way, our struggles can nourish our strength, teaching us patience, perseverance, and adaptability. But resilience isn't just about enduring hardships. It's about transforming them. How? By embracing a mindset of growth. Ask yourself, how can this challenge make me stronger? What can I learn from this experience? Take Maya, for example, a single mother who struggled to make ends meet after her husband left. She could have let bitterness consume her, but instead, she chose to channel her energy into creating a better future for herself and her son. Maya learned new skills, started a small business, and cultivated a support network of friends who lifted her spirits. Every obstacle she faced became fuel for her determination. Today, Maya is not just surviving, she's thriving. It's easy to think that resilience is something only extraordinary people possess, but the truth is, it's within all of us. It's in the child learning to walk, falling over and over but never giving up. It's in the farmer who waits patiently for the rain after a season of drought. It's in you, in every moment when you choose to rise despite the odds. So, how can you nurture your resilience? Start with small, intentional steps. When faced with a problem, don't rush to fix it immediately. Pause, take a deep breath, acknowledge how you feel, whether it's fear, frustration, or sadness. Naming your emotions gives you power over them, rather than letting them control you. Next, break the challenge into manageable pieces. Think of climbing a mountain. You don't focus on the summit alone. You take one step at a time, each bringing you closer to your goal. And don't forget the importance of self-care. Resilience isn't about pushing yourself to the brink. It's about building a strong foundation. How can you face life storms if your own roots aren't healthy? Nourish your body with good food and rest. Calm your mind with meditation or a walk in nature. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. Gratitude is another powerful tool for resilience. It might seem counterintuitive to feel thankful during hard times, but even in the darkest moments, there are glimmers of light. Think of a stormy sky. Amid the gray clouds, there's always a sliver of blue if you look closely enough. Reflect on the things you're grateful for, the friend who called to check on you, the strength to get out of bed, the lessons hidden in your struggles. Resilience also thrives on connection. When you share your challenges with others, you realize you're not alone. Think of the lotus pond. Not one flower grows in isolation. Each one draws strength from the collective, rooted together in the same mud. Who are your lotus flowers? Who can you lean on and who might be leaning on you? Lastly, trust in the impermanence of all things. Just as the seasons change, so too do our difficulties. No storm lasts forever, and when it passes, you'll find that you're not the same person you were before. You're stronger, wiser, and more equipped to face whatever comes next. So, the next time you find yourself in the mud, remember the lotus flower. Remember that even in the darkest waters, there is potential for growth and beauty. You too can rise above, and when you do, you'll not only survive, you'll bloom. Living authentically. What does it mean to live authentically? Have you ever asked yourself, am I truly being myself, or am I just playing a role to fit in? It's a question we often avoid, perhaps because the answer can be unsettling. But think about this. How freeing would it be to wake up every morning and know that you are living life on your terms, unapologetically and wholeheartedly? Living authentically isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and choosing to live in a way that honors your values, passions, and truth. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. In a world that constantly pushes us to conform, standing firm in our uniqueness can feel like swimming upstream. Take the story of Daniel, an artist whose journey is a testament to the power of authenticity. For years, Daniel struggled to gain recognition in the art world. He was told repeatedly to follow market trends, to paint what would sell rather than what spoke to his soul. For a while, he listened. He churned out landscapes and abstracts that felt hollow to him but were in demand. Yet, despite his efforts, success remained elusive. One day, exhausted by the charade, Daniel made a bold decision. He returned to his roots, painting the vivid, surreal imagery that had always captured his imagination. His work became a reflection of his true self, raw, emotional, and utterly unique. At first, the response was lukewarm, but over time, something remarkable happened. His authenticity resonated with people in a way his previous work never had. Galleries took notice, and collectors clamored for his pieces. Daniel's success didn't come from following the crowd. It came from daring to be himself. Does this story resonate with you? Maybe you're not an artist, but think about the areas in your life where you've compromised your authenticity. Have you ever hidden parts of yourself to gain approval or fit into someone else's mold? What did it cost you? The truth is, living inauthentically can feel like wearing a mask. It might look convincing from the outside, but inside, it's suffocating. And while the world may applaud the mask, deep down, you know it's not who you truly are. But here's the good news. Authenticity is always within reach. It begins with a single, courageous step. Getting to know yourself. Who are you really? What do you value? What lights you up? These aren't questions to rush through. They're questions to sit with, to explore deeply. Living authentically also means embracing your imperfections. Society often teaches us to hide our flaws, but isn't it our imperfections that make us human, relatable, and real? Think about your closest friends. Are they perfect? Of course not. What draws you to them is their authenticity, their ability to be themselves, unpolished and true. So why should it be any different for you? Consider Maya, a young professional who felt trapped in a corporate job that drained her energy. She had always been drawn to social work, but the pressure to climb the corporate ladder kept her stuck. After years of unhappiness, Maya finally listened to her inner voice. She left her job and began working with underserved communities, a career that aligned with her values of compassion and service. It wasn't an easy transition. She faced financial uncertainty and skepticism from others, but the fulfillment she felt was worth every sacrifice. Today, Maya radiates a quiet confidence because she knows she's living in alignment with her true self. Confidence, you see, isn't about projecting a flawless image. It flows naturally when you live authentically. When you stop seeking external validation and start honoring your own truth, you develop a quiet, unshakable strength. You no longer need others to tell you you're enough because you already know it. But how do you start this journey? Begin with reflection. Write down one personal value that truly matters to you, something that defines who you are at your core. Maybe it's integrity, creativity, kindness, or freedom. Then, think of a specific action you can take to honor this value in your daily life. For example, if you value honesty, commit to speaking your truth, even in small, everyday interactions. Living authentically also requires courage. It means being willing to disappoint others, sometimes to stay true to yourself. This can be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to people pleasing. But ask yourself this: is it better to disappoint someone else temporarily or to disappoint yourself permanently? And remember, authenticity isn't a destination. It's a practice. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns, when the fear of judgment feels overwhelming. That's okay. What matters is that you keep coming back to yourself again and again. Think of a tree standing tall in a storm. Its branches sway, its leaves may fall, but its roots remain firmly planted in the earth. Your authenticity is like those roots. It grounds you, sustains you, and gives you the strength to weather life's storms. So, how will you begin living authentically today? Will you take off the mask, even if just for a moment? Will you dare to be seen as you truly are? The world doesn't need another copy. It needs you, in all your messy, beautiful, imperfect glory. And when you choose to live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Isn't that the kind of ripple effect worth creating? Breaking free from external influences. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, whose life am I really living? It's a question that can shake your core. Are the choices you've made truly yours, or have they been shaped by the voices of society, family, or peers? How often do we find ourselves chasing goals that don't resonate with our hearts, simply because they were handed to us by someone else? Breaking free from external influences is one of the most liberating yet challenging journeys you can embark on. It requires courage to confront the expectations placed upon you and to carve out a path that feels authentically your own. But isn't it worth it to live a life that reflects who you truly are, rather than a shadow of what others expect you to be? Imagine this. You're climbing a ladder, rung by rung, sweating and straining to reach the top. But when you finally get there, you look around and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Isn't that one of the greatest fears? To spend years pursuing a dream, only to realize it wasn't your dream at all. Let's consider the story of Lisa, a bright college student whose parents insisted she study medicine. From a young age, her family praised doctors as the ultimate symbol of success. So, despite her love for painting, Lisa enrolled in pre-med courses, convincing herself it was the right thing to do. But as the semesters passed, Lisa felt a growing void. She dreaded her classes, and the spark in her eyes began to fade. One evening, as she sat alone sketching in her notebook, a hobby she hadn't indulged in months, it hit her. Why am I living someone else's dream? The realization was both freeing and terrifying. With trembling hands, Lisa made the difficult decision to change her major to fine arts. Her parents were disappointed, of course, and some of her friends questioned her choice. But for the first time, Lisa felt alive. She poured her soul into her work, and eventually, her art found an audience that appreciated her unique perspective. Lisa's courage to break free didn't just transform her career. It transformed her sense of self-worth. Now, pause for a moment and ask yourself, how much of what you do is truly for you? Are your goals aligned with your deepest values, or are they tied to the expectations of others? External influences can be subtle, like whispers in the wind. They can come from well-meaning parents who want the best for you, teachers who praise certain paths over others, or a culture that defines success in narrow terms. It's not that these voices are inherently wrong. They often come from a place of love or tradition, but they can drown out your own inner voice if you let them. Breaking free doesn't mean rejecting everyone's advice or living in rebellion. It's about listening to yourself with the same respect you give to others. What if, instead of asking, "What should I do?" you asked, "What do I want to do?" Take a moment to picture your ideal life. Not the life someone else envisions for you, but the one that makes your heart race with excitement. What does it look like? Is it filled with creativity, adventure, connection, or something else entirely? The clearer your vision becomes, the easier it is to spot the areas where external influences are holding you back. Of course, this process isn't easy. Choosing your own path often means disappointing others, and that can feel unbearable. But ask yourself this: who are you living for? At the end of the day, wouldn't it be more painful to disappoint yourself than to let someone else down temporarily? Consider Alex, a high school teacher who always felt pressure from his family to excel academically. His parents had sacrificed so much for him, and they dreamed of him becoming a lawyer. Alex pursued this path dutifully, but the courtroom felt suffocating. Eventually, he left law school and followed his passion for teaching. While his family struggled to understand his decision at first, Alex's fulfillment and joy eventually helped them see that he was living his truth. But how do you find the courage to break free when the pressure feels overwhelming? Start small. Spend just 10 minutes journaling with this question: what truly matters to me? Write freely without judgment. Let your thoughts flow even if they feel scattered at first. Often, the answers we seek are already within us. They just need space to surface. As you reflect, pay attention to the areas of your life that feel heavy or forced. Are you staying in a job, relationship, or lifestyle that no longer aligns with who you are? Change doesn't have to happen overnight, but awareness is the first step. Another powerful tool is learning to set boundaries. It's okay to say, "I appreciate your advice, but this is my decision." Boundaries don't mean shutting people out. They mean creating space for your own voice to be heard. Breaking free also requires surrounding yourself with people who uplift and support you. Seek out communities and friends who celebrate your uniqueness rather than pressuring you to conform. These are the people who will cheer you on as you step into your authentic self. Lastly, remember that breaking free from external influences is not a one-time act. It's a practice, a series of choices you make every day. Each time you say yes to yourself, you reclaim a piece of your power. So what's holding you back? Is it the fear of judgment, the weight of tradition, or the comfort of familiarity? Whatever it is, know that you have the strength to rise above it. Your life is yours to live, and there's no greater gift you can give yourself than the freedom to be who you truly are. The question remains: will you take that first step toward breaking free? Connecting with inner strength. Have you ever felt like life was a storm, relentless and unforgiving, tossing you from one challenge to the next without a moment to catch your breath? In those moments, where do you find the strength to keep going? Do you look outside yourself for answers, or do you pause and turn inward? Let me share with you the story of a meditation master who lived in a small village nestled in the mountains. This master was known for his unshakable calm, even during the most tumultuous events. One year, a devastating storm swept through the village. Houses were destroyed, fields flooded, and despair filled the air. Yet, the master sat quietly in his hut, his face serene. When asked how he could remain so composed while chaos raged around him, he smiled and said, "The storm is outside. My calm is within. I cannot stop the winds or the rain, but I can control my breath. As long as I breathe deeply, I am anchored. The storm cannot uproot me." Isn't that a profound truth? The storms of life, failure, loss, disappointment, are inevitable. But within each of us lies an anchor, a source of strength as steady as the master's breath. The challenge is learning how to connect with it. Inner strength isn't something you find in a book or a seminar. It's something you cultivate through practice. It begins with mindfulness, the simple but transformative act of being fully present in the moment. But how often do we allow ourselves to truly be present? Think about it. How much of your day is spent worrying about the future or replaying the past? We live in a world of endless distractions. Notifications, deadlines, expectations, all pulling us away from ourselves. But what if you could quiet the noise? What if you could find a way to reconnect with the stillness that's always been inside you? Let's try this together. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Now slowly exhale. Did you feel it? That brief pause, that fleeting sense of calm? That's the beginning of your connection to inner strength. Imagine a tree standing tall in a forest. Its branches sway in the wind, its leaves may fall, but its roots remain firmly planted in the ground. Your inner strength is like those roots. No matter how wild the winds of life become, as long as your roots are deep, you will stand strong. But how do we deepen those roots? How do we access the calm that the meditation master spoke of? The answer lies in your breath. Mindfulness meditation is a practice that helps you tune into your breath and, in doing so, connect with your inner strength. Here's a simple exercise to get you started. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a deep breath in through your nose. Feel the air fill your lungs, expanding your chest. Hold it for a moment, then slowly exhale through your mouth. Focus all your attention on your breath. Notice its rhythm, the way it enters and leaves your body. When your mind starts to wander, gently guide it back to your breath. Doesn't that sound simple? Yet the effects are profound. As you practice, you'll begin to notice a shift. The chatter of your mind will quiet. The weight of stress will lighten. And in that stillness, you'll find your strength. Take, for example, Sarah, a single mother working 2 jobs to support her family. Her days were a blur of responsibilities, leaving her exhausted and overwhelmed. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, she stumbled upon a video about mindfulness meditation. Desperate for relief, she decided to try it. At first, it felt strange, sitting quietly while her thoughts raced. But with practice, she began to notice a change. The moments of stillness she created through meditation gave her the energy and clarity to face her challenges with renewed determination. Does Sarah's story resonate with you? Perhaps your life feels like a constant storm, and you're searching for a way to anchor yourself. Know that you already have everything you need within you. Your breath is your anchor. The beauty of connecting with inner strength is that it doesn't require drastic changes or expensive tools. It's about small, intentional moments. It's pausing before a difficult conversation to take a calming breath. It's stepping outside for a few minutes to feel the sunlight on your skin. It's closing your eyes at the end of the day and silently thanking yourself for making it through. And let's not forget, this is a journey, not a destination. Some days the storm will feel too strong, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's persistence. Each time you choose to focus on your breath, to find stillness amid chaos, you're strengthening your roots. So, I'll ask you again, where do you find your strength when the storm comes? Will you let the winds define you, or will you anchor yourself in the calm within? The choice is yours, and the answer is already inside you. Waiting, steady, unshakable. Conclusion: the journey to unshakable peace. As we come to the end of our time together, let me ask you this. How do you feel right now? Is there a small spark of recognition, a sense that perhaps you've been holding on too tightly to things that don't serve you? Maybe it's the opinions of others, the fear of failure, or the need to prove something to the world. Whatever it is, know this: you don't have to carry that weight any longer. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're making space for growth, for joy, for the life you truly want to live. Remember the story of the lotus flower we shared earlier? It blooms in the muddiest of waters, untouched by the filth around it. This is your potential. Even in the midst of chaos, you can rise, pure and radiant, finding strength in your resilience and beauty in your journey. So, as you step back into your day, carry this thought with you. Your power lies not in controlling what happens to you, but in how you choose to respond. Will you let the world dictate your peace, or will you cultivate it within yourself? Take a deep breath. Feel the present moment. This is where your journey begins. Not tomorrow, not after you've fixed yourself, but now, exactly as you are. Let's stay connected on this path of discovery. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated with you? What challenges are you ready to face with a new perspective? And don't forget, your inner strength is your greatest gift. Nurture it, trust it, and let it guide you. Together, let's keep shining a light in this world. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Until next time, may you walk with peace, courage, and an open heart. Glowing star.